next guest has been on TV for 40 years.
Yes.
He is one of the longest-running TV hosts in history, and he's here today to dish on his latest project before saying goodbye to television. Please welcome back to the show our friend Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Jerry.
Thank you. I'm doing fine. You know, my wife tells me now, instead of always chanting Jerry, they should start chanting your address so you remember where you live.
Jerry, that is hysterical.
So we're going to send out my address.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I will show up
Jerry.
and stalk you. You know this, Jerry. I've been obsessed with you for years, and now after 40 years of television, you're moving on to your new podcast, Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, that's a weekly podcast that I do. It's a half hour, and it's 10 minutes of me giving a political rant. It's 10 minutes of bluegrass music.
Nice.
Where bluegrass performers from around the country, as they're traveling through the Midwest, come into a coffee shop, because that's where we do it, and they perform in front of a live audience for us. And then we have 10 minutes of comedy. And then I go home because I get tired at my age.
That is super cool, though.
Yeah.
And I
Same.
get tired.
Same.
So cool.
And on this recent podcast, Jerry, you talked about the treatment of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson during her confirmation. Why was that an important issue for you?
Well, I felt as the senators were sitting there asking her these really condescending questions, it seemed like these were plantation owners
Right.
talking to a slave or a former slave. I mean, it was so demeaning. I mean, here she was, clearly the brightest person in the room, credentials that nobody could question, and maybe that's why they had silly questions for her. And yet, you know, if this is the first African-American woman to finally get to be on the Supreme Court, and she kind of exemplified the experience I can imagine African-American women have had throughout our history. And I think she'll be a great addition to the Supreme Court, the only Supreme Court justice to have trial experience as a defense attorney. All the others were corporate attorneys. Finally, we get someone who represents just regular people. And I think that's very good to have on the Supreme
That is
Court.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Said perfectly.
Yes, B, it's you, honey.
Absolutely. So now, Jerry, this is something I think most people don't know. You were the mayor of Cincinnati and said it was the greatest job you've ever had. Why is that? And are you returning to politics?
I'm too old, but I may run. I may run for president of the nursing home.
I can't.
You
Jerry,
have got to stop.
I'm going to go from room to room. I'll give out some soft butter cookies and say, please vote for me.
I would
And,
vote.
I want some soft butter cookies.
I would
Yeah,
join the nursing home
too.
just to have you as my president.
I mean,
sure.
Low key, high key. She really,
anyway.
Adrian is obsessed with you,
I
Jerry.
am your biggest fan.
He's an icon.
Exactly. Now, did I hear right? Were you born in a subway, Jerry?
Yes. And, well, because I was born in England and during the war, World War II. And the subway tubes were bomb shelters. And women in their 9th month would often spend a night in the subway tubes because you didn't know exactly when the bombs would come. So even now when I go, you know, every time I hear a train come by, I get nervous, you know.
That is actually like a shocking thing. I would have never known that. And sadly, in this day and age, it's something that we're all too familiar with and hearing about women having to do with Ukraine and Russia right now. Okay, now this is the real. So, Jerry, you know I gotta ask you about the tea we hear you had in real life. You had like a real life Jerry moment I heard with Sharon Osbourne and Piers Morgan. What exactly happened here?
Oh, yeah, well, I had just been hired as the host of America's Got Talent. And so they invited me out to LA to meet, you know, the crew and they were judges on the show. I was the host, and Piers and Sharon were 2 of the 3 judges, along with David Hasselhoff. So everyone's sitting there at the table. I've just met these people for the first time, and Sharon and Piers start going at each other. Apparently, Piers had written an article for a British newspaper where he didn't say nice things about Sharon, and they were just going at it. And I'm thinking, wait a second, this is like my regular show. I came all the way out here. I'm constantly running into people that have been on my show.
It follows you.
And, or could have been on. I never expected that someone from my show would one day become president of the United States.
How about that?
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sorry.
Neither did we.
Crazy.
Neither did we. Gotta be honest with you.
All of this just
Yeah.
begs us to ask the question, why are you retiring from TV
I know.
as Judge Jerry and all of your legacy? It comes to an end later this year, by the way. What are you gonna miss most about being on TV?
Well, the honest truth is the people I work with, I mean, because they've just become lifelong friends. And, so going to work every day. And I love the live audience. There is something very special about a live audience. But I guess I'm going to be pretty much addicted to, in other words, if I go down at 3 o'clock in the morning downstairs because I'm hungry to open the refrigerator, when I open the door and that light goes on, I do 5 minutes. So it's like, I just can't stop.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, my wife says, stop it. Just stop it. So if I could get what I want to get is one of those recordings that when the alarm goes off in the morning, instead of being a buzzer, it just goes, Jerry, Jerry.
I feel like we can make that happen for sure.
For sure.
Somebody can make that happen.
Great.
Yeah.
I'd wake up every day in a good mood.
Aw.
So, Jerry, before we let you go, what's next on your bucket list?
I hope breathing. I put that down. That's what I want from Santa, another year of breathing.
I hear that.
Yeah, but no, here's what I'm going to do with, I don't know, I'm spending time with my grandson.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
That's amazing.
Yes, that's
that's
the best.
become our passion, just being with him. He's 13 going on 20, and
Aw.
he's a wonderful baseball player. So anyway, we're going to do that. But I've got this idea.
What?
Okay.
Well, see, we bought a plot, when my day comes and they return me to the ground. I've got a plot, and I'm thinking I want to put up by the stone 3 rows of bleachers on the left, and then 3 rows facing the stone, and then 3 rows of bleachers on the right-hand side. And then over the stone, I'm going to have a screen which will run 24/7 the Jerry Springer episodes, 5,000 of them. So on a Friday night, kids could come, they have a date, they go to the cemetery, they sit in the bleachers by my stone, and they watch the Jerry Springer show. And then on my stone, it'll simply say, I won't be right back.
Oh my gosh!
Jerry, you are so
The funniest, and I would go. I would go sit
funny.
on the bleachers.
Jerry, we love you so much. Keep breathing and keep spending time with your grandson. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with us today. You made Adrian's day.
Really good.
For more on Jerry's podcast, head over to thereal.com and also be sure to check your local listings for episodes of Judge Jerry.